Welcome to episode 39. Today we'll talk about my sweet tooth and the Humble Glucose Biscuit. So, as I've mentioned before, I have had food allergies since I was little and intuitively avoided foods that I was allergic to. But the one taste that I loved was that of sugar. I could have sweet foods for all three meals if possible. What I now know as the most basic and simple of biscuits, the Parle G biscuit, those were a rare treat for me as a kid growing up in Dapchari. At that time, it was simply called the glucose biscuit or the Parle biscuit. They changed the name later to Parle G. Nothing more than the simple carbohydrates of refined flour and sugar. This biscuit was something that I loved and cherished as a special treat. Mom used to serve these biscuits sparingly, giving us one each for evening snack, that too not every day. Since I disliked anything that was not sweet as a kid, I always made it a point to first eat all the savory stuff on the plate and keep the sweet treats for the end. So even when I went for birthday parties, I first ate all the snacks that I disliked, such as potato chips and namkeens. And then I had the biscuits and toffees and candy and other sweets and chocolates. Since I disliked most main course foods and rarely got junk type sweets, meaning pure sugar based desserts or snacks, I made the most of it when I had access to them. I enjoyed sugary treats so much that I reached for the next one like an addict if I had the opportunity. I did not even know that this was not acceptable until later. One day, soon after we had moved to the Godrej colony, Mom was at someone's place for a kitty party. After moving to Bombay, Mom had joined a kitty for a brief while in order to get to know the neighbors. On that particular day, Mom was at Mrs. Deshpande's house. And since the kitty party was still going on when I got home from school, Mom asked me to join at Mrs. Deshpande's house. I sat there among the ladies, marveling at the variety of snacks served over there. The hostess asked me to go ahead and help myself. As a skinny little kid who rarely had access, nay, unrestricted access to desserts and biscuits, I was in dessert heaven, or snack heaven maybe. At any rate, this was a rare treat for me. I reached for a glucose biscuit. By the time I finished it, I felt the urge to reach for another one. The flavor of that biscuit simply called out to me, and like a helpless addict, I reached for a second biscuit. I was delighted. I don't recall how many biscuits I had that day at the kiddie party, but they were enough that Mom commented that I had embarrassed her. I was confused and surprised. I took everything literally then when I was a kid, and I still do sometimes. Why had I embarrassed Mom by eating biscuits? The hostess had literally offered them to me. So I was surprised and hurt when Mom said that I had embarrassed her by eating so many biscuits. My passion for biscuits was evident from the Sujata incident. I had time and again mentioned how I was not assertive and was in fact very submissive. And yet, an assertive spark manifested from time to time. I was in primary school, and on Saturdays we had a half day. On Saturdays, Mom would pack some snacks that I had on the way home. Sometimes we had these extra dance class and all. So Mom thought we would get late, so she would give me some snacks. On one such Saturday, I was waiting for the bus to arrive and opened my snack tiffin and started having the snacks. As usual, there was a bunch of savory dry snacks which I started eating first. I kept eyeing my biscuit with delight, anticipating finishing everything in my tiffin and then digging into that delicious biscuit. A girl from the Marathi medium called Sujata Rane walked up to me and peeking over my shoulder noticed my snacks. In one swift movement, she grabbed the biscuit and put it in her mouth and swallowed it. I was stunned. This had come out of nowhere. I was shattered. What just happened? Did people actually behave like that? Somehow, till date, I get equally stunned when people behave badly out of the blue or when people try to bully me, no matter how many times it has happened. I was angry with Sujata and demanded my biscuit back. Of course, she couldn't return it. It was sitting in her tummy now. I was furious. I told her that on Monday, when she got into the bus, she needed to bring a replacement biscuit for me. On Monday, when I saw Sujata at the bus stop, I demanded my biscuit. I guess Sujata had never met anyone who had reacted like that when she had done her thing. Of course, she had not brought a replacement biscuit for me. I gave her an ultimatum. Either bring a replacement biscuit for me or bring 10 paise, which I estimated was the price of the biscuit. Now, I don't remember if I demanded 1 paisa or 2 paisa or 5 paisa, because at that time we had all these individual coins, we had those denomination coins. After that, every morning, I relentlessly followed up with Sujata Rane at the bus stop or inside the bus. I hounded her until one day she finally gave in and gave me a biscuit. Triumphantly, I ate the biscuit. In high school, I was a volunteer for a free health checkup camp that Godrej was conducting for its employees. We were at the help desk and answered the queries of people who walked in. As volunteers, we had unrestricted access to snacks. Guess what the snack was? Yes, it was the humble old glucose biscuit. I was so delighted when we were told that we could have as many as we liked. There were about 4 of us as volunteers at the counter. A kindly old Parsi lady was overseeing the proceedings. One of the things I feel really bad about was believing the other girls who gave wrong information. This is something about me. Even if I know something to be false, if someone tells it with enough confidence, I just believe them or I just accept it. So even though I knew that the camp would wind up by 5 in the evening, when one of the girls at the counter started informing people that they could come back later because the camp went on till 7, I just believed it. Then even I started telling people this, and they would go away with the intention of coming back later. I don't know how many people left that day to come back later and find they had missed the free health checkup. But besides this, I felt even worse about something else. After several hours, when the lady in charge of the health camp came to talk to us, she addressed me as the girl who ate lots of biscuits. I was mortified. I was so shocked that she would talk to me like this. After all, we were told that we could have as many as we liked. This was hurtful. Did I really eat that many more biscuits than the other girls? Now, when I look back at all this, it is amusing because I don't even eat biscuits or cookies anymore. Another sugary thing I loved as a kid was tea. In the 80s and 90s, families would go and visit each other. That was the thing we did for social visits. So many a time on weekends, we would go visit a family that I knew we were somehow related to, but not sure how. The highlight of that visit was when they offered us tea and biscuits. I would sit there. No one at their house was my age, and it was generally a very boring visit. We would just sit there. The parents would talk, the adults would talk. So one day we sat there and the adults were chatting as usual. I waited and waited for them to offer tea, but that did not happen. Finally, exasperated, I asked, when are they going to offer us tea? My parents were mortified. One weekend, we were to leave for Dapchari, and my parents were trying to wind up everything before we left. There was an extra cup of tea that was going cold. This was before Indians had microwaves in their houses. Besides, nobody likes reheated tea. I had just eaten a banana. Again, that was something like we had to finish before we left. Otherwise, it might get spoiled. In our house, we did not waste food as far as possible, and mom tried to have us consume food rather than just throw it away. So I delightedly pounced on the opportunity to have tea. Mom said this tea is going cold. Would someone like to have it? Otherwise, she would have had to throw it. So I was like, yeah, me, I'm going to have this tea. So usually us kids were never offered tea at home. We were given milk to drink. I happily had the tea. And we took off for Dapchari in the car. Soon, the combination of the banana and the tea started making me feel queasy. We reached Dapchari and went visiting to Ratan's house. Ratan was our neighbor. And right there in their front yard, I saw the banana and tea make their reverse journey out of my mouth. I was throwing up. After that, just the sight of tea or bananas was enough to make me want to throw up. It was years before I had tea or bananas again. That's all for today, folks. I will continue regaling you with stories of my dessert addiction in the next episode. Till then, take care of yourself, stay healthy, stay well. Bye for now.